Testing. All right, here we go.
Thank you, Mayor.
No problem.
All right, it is 5:48. Let's get call to order the Blackwood Town Council Special Call Meeting and Budget Work Session. Today is Monday, May 5th, the year 2025. Ms. Durst, would you please call the roll, ma'am?
Councilwoman Page. Here. Councilman Rock. Councilwoman Fritz. Councilman McHenry.
Here.
Mayor Griffin.
Here, please note for the record that Councilwoman Fripp, sent an email, this afternoon asking to be excused at 5:26. And also make it on the record that Mayor Pro Tem, Brock is present. All right, Ms. Durst, what's the agenda posted according to state law? Thank you, ma'am. I'll be looking for a motion, to approve the agenda as presented.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made. Motion made and second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it. At this time, please join Mayor Pro Tem Brock for the pledge of allegiance and invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll make this quick. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here today. Thank you for bringing us here safely. Thank you for this beautiful weather. We ask that you bless those in the town, the state, the nation, bless our defenders, domestic and abroad. All these things we say in your name, amen, and let this be the last meeting.
Thank you. Any, council member remarks this afternoon?
I do.
All right, Ms. Page.
Thank you. I had sent out an email, I believe it was Thursday, maybe Friday. There is a, 1.5 hour, this seminar or webinar, by the ICMA regarding managing public relations with your elected officials. And it's not this Tuesday, tomorrow, but May 13th from 1 to 2:30. And it is $20 per person, but it goes on to indicate how to coordinate messaging between elected officials and staff, do's and don'ts, and interacting with the media, best practices for your elected officials on social media use. So just thought that was pretty timely with regards to things that are happening in our community, and thought it would be good for us all to tune into that.
Thank you, ma'am. And council members, y'all have that email, so if you would like to attend, please respond accordingly. Thank you, ma'am. Any other remarks? All right, hearing none, let's get into the down and dirty. For the discussion item, we were reviewed by council of the mayor's proposed budget fiscal year 25-26. All right, for this here, we have went over, all pages. What I want to do is pause for a second just to make sure these numbers they were put in this afternoon. Let's make sure that these numbers look according to how you viewed it. Up until page 11 we left off. That's what, okay, 13. So, I'm gonna pause for a second, let y'all look at that, let us know what you think. Then we'll pick up at 14. There you go.
So if you're using the sheets that are at your place tonight, that will be page 8. So if you're using ones that are on the table. So if you're using the ones from last week, it'll be page 14. You're using the one that's at the table, if you arrive, that is page 8.
That's what I'm confused. Yep.
Yeah.
Pages.
Yep, thank you. Give us a couple more minutes. And this is not final, so if you see something even after the meeting, just email us so we can adjust it. That's the only statement. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
It does get a little confusing, no, with the last pages.
Maybe sometimes, what did we, where did we leave it with the assistant finance?
We did not, add an assistant finance. Are you still seeing that in this?
No, it's just blank. What, how did we say we were handling?
Well, we didn't. I mean, the decision, the instruction was to remove it. And so we removed it in its entirety. We won't have, we'll have some overlap in this fiscal year. And then we'll probably have 1 month of overlap in the new fiscal year. Okay.
Country's not coming just yet.
Yeah. What?
Is this anywhere in Excel format? All right,
Uh,
here's one from Sunday, the 27th.
no, that's not it, because we just got this, what?
Today.
Yeah, a couple hours ago.
I can forward you what we just got.
Yeah, do that, and I want to grab numbers out of it. Easier to copy and paste than type.
Send that whole email that was over the
Yeah.
explanations that Kendrick
I
had.
thought I'd just go ahead and call.
Okay, if we're talking about the manor, which I believe page 4, I'm working off last meeting's thing, page 14. It looks to me like we've got expenses of 527, 528, and projected revenue of 210. That's bad math. So,
Hold on a second. Your pro temp, I just want to make sure. I know everybody was flipping through. Are y'all on that page? On page with the man?
I'm almost.
Okay, let's wait till everybody get there if you don't mind.
anything change?
Well, I'm just giving everybody.
Yeah, I don't think
courtesy.
anything's changed, but they've dropped. I see what you're doing, spelling, typically what we have to do, went back and dropped the merit proposed budgets in yellow. The very first one we started with, was the correct way to. And Brock, you're picking up on new page 8.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's on the manor.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Which
This page.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right, I'll just work off the new one.
Yeah, I'll just come down and see whatever corrections are needed before our new page of 8 versus last time, page 14 there. That's all I know I can do.
Yeah.
Just to keep us moving.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
No, I mean, my statement stands. If you look on page 1, you've got manor revenue of 210, and then you've got on page 9, total expenditures, admin and ops, you've got 528,819. I'm assuming that 528,819 is all the numbers above. If this was a business, it would shut down immediately. It's $320,000 in the red. That's a problem. I'm not even convinced that the revenue generated covers the salaries. Mr. Triggers, what do you think?
Well, it's not, if it's council's intent that it operate either break even or at a profit, as an enterprise fund, then yes, it's losing money. If it's council's intent that there is a subsidy from the town for the facility and for the uses outside of the revenue generating side of that, then the difference, the balance is the subsidy. And so your point is valid. I mean, the difference between revenue and total expense is the subsidy.
Just doesn't seem like, it seems like the subsidy continues to grow versus shrink.
It probably does. If expenses are growing at a rate higher than the revenue is growing, that would be exactly what would be happening.
So Mayor Pro Tem, I'll ask this because this has been something, this is nothing new. What's your solution on fixing the man?
Well,
I mean, we always have picked up the remainder on the manor since.
oh, no, I know. It just seems like it seems that it continues to move further and further into the red. A couple of things that stand out. 7120, 18001. There's a $2,400 increase. We were freezing salary, so I don't know why that number went up. Unless the number in FY25 adjusted is incorrect.
What's your number on that? 82,400?
82,400, yeah. So, I mean, this is, the way these Tar Heel blue columns are very confusing.
Well, and they're,
Cause it's like it froze and it picked it up for even, yeah, well, this one says the end of March.
Sure, she put them in.
Yeah.
After we adjusted.
Well, again, what we did is we went back in the, what do you call it, color, salmon? In the salmon color, we went back and we put those in as actual.
But these are the actual numbers.
Yes, that's off our last payroll run.
Is there any kind of trajectory service that would be able to help answer the question of what is the breaking point for the facility for the manor? At what point could we trajectory, of course, forecasted? However, would that be helpful for us in ongoing conversations to really understand at what point, if ever, are we ever going to see it to be in the black and no longer in red?
Well, we could do a pro forma. I mean, we could.
I mean, that would be
and-
a lot of
and-
information,
and
but.
I haven't studied it,
Mhm.
but based on the numbers I'm seeing, I think that would be, unless something's happening on the revenue side that I just don't know what that is. I mean, I think the opportunity, and I think they will continue to generate more revenue. I don't know that that will,
Satisfied.
I don't know if they're gonna cross, the lines are gonna cross at a break even. I just, I don't see that. I think you will subsidize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's probably what we're looking for. I know for myself, it's just trying to have an understanding at what point do we say, okay? Or, is anything gonna change otherwise?
Yeah. To, Mayor Pro Tem's earlier comment, if it was a private business, it wouldn't survive.
Well, okay, well, a couple of things, and this, I may be able to save us $100,000 here. You wanted a solution, I might have one for you. Well, on line 713240, mayor's proposal is 3,500, council's proposal is 35,000. Little bit of a difference there. So that's about a $32,000 mistake.
Hold on, give me that number again.
3,500 to 35,000.
Buildings.
Building supplies, batteries and bulbs, that's a lot of batteries and bulbs for $35,000. Right,
That's something else.
and so, and then we can
Saying
go,
there's another one.
then we can go down to 713550, manor equipment, 8,500 to 85,000, that's $100,000.
I just think.
And
Yeah,
if,
that's a typo.
I understand that, but it sums up to 528.
Slowing down to your total.
And I understand it's a typo, but the way
I'm
it still
just
works
talking,
is
I'm talking.
so that number may be 428 or 425. I mean, it's $100,000 error on this budget. So,
Well, on,
and I mean, I can go in here and change the one Mr. Drigger sent and see if, let it drive down.
Mm,
I think a couple things for me.
It's not going.
Requirements.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
there may be.
let me,
I mean, you'd have to, you got it.
Okay, we should have that new calculation of 199,590.
Well, Rockets are parking support. And it may not be, she may have just got hard keyed in there.
Yeah.
That seems
For us to continue to move forward, it probably is best if you see those in a line item. Let's make the line item adjustments. So if it's 35,000 and it should be 3,500, let's change it from 35,000 to 3,500 and then we'll recount.
no, it's got formulas in there, so hold on.
Okay.
8,500. That saves about 75,000.
I think if we set some goals. And one of those for me would be to move the manor to an enterprise. We can't answer any of these questions. Well, we can come close, but it's guesswork at best, because the manor and the town are so intertwined into this budget. If we separate it out into an enterprise fund, it's one versus the other, they're staying the one.
And in my experience in working with enterprise funds, if we do that, I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, if we do that, what we have to have some conversation about is clearly is 100% of an expense the manor and the revenue generating portion of the manor, or is there any piece of that that is an expense that is the park, for example, that is not the manor? And if it is, we have to break that out. And for an example, if we have any staff members, that if their work is split between the revenue generating piece and the non-revenue generating piece, we have to look at that and we say, okay, 70% of this salary goes to the enterprise, 30% goes to the other. That's the best way to because otherwise it's not a true reflection.
Yeah, it's murky like this. And then 3 years ago, we set out to say it was the goal to make the manor more self-sufficient, not totally. I've never heard
It will
in
be.
my 4 years that this is gonna be totally self-sufficient. But to close the gap between the continued approach the town gives all the facilities. Now, it's the park. We get it. The amphitheater is probably not gonna be used as much as the manor as far as rental goes. But there is a revenue generating tools that I don't know that we're utilizing like we should, or like we could. So that would be my proposal. As we go through budgeting, let's not skip over it for another year. Let's move it as we're looking at financial software to an enterprise fund and go ahead and do the hard work of getting it broken out, which is answering a lot of the questions.
And it will have its own chart of accounts.
Absolutely.
And that can be done, and I will say this, that can be done. It is a lot of work to make the shift, and my only request would be, don't ask us to do all that if we're not going to use it in a managerial way of how we're.
Well, I don't think you could, in my opinion, I don't think that would be.
If we're just curious, it's not.
Yeah, it's far more than curiosity, maybe, but I don't think it's feasible to do in QuickBooks. Yes, you can set up a separate company in QuickBooks. Yes, I've done it. You can create an enterprise account in QuickBooks and do it. It's far more effective when we get a financial management.
And so maybe a separate action that says that really, once we migrate to a more sophisticated financial system, that the intent is to move that at that point to an enterprise
And
versus July 1 with a fiscal year.
right, I'm with you 100%. And then that begs the question, what if any responsibility do we as a council have to set pace for revenue goals other than approving the revenue line from page 1? I mean, we're gonna hit it or surpass it, it looks like this year. And we put it at 210 for next year. What responsibility does council have there other than setting a revenue line?
Perhaps none. I'm not saying it is none, but perhaps none unless we're looking at some type of commission system or something where those milestones become more objective evaluation criteria for success there. And if it's objective, that's what we'll do with say certain thresholds, certain dollar amounts, certain percentage of time. And those are the objective measures. So subjective measures are, and do I think you're doing a good job? Right. We greeting the public the way we should.
And wasn't one of the manor expenses this year, wasn't Fred asking for a golf cart next year?
Laundry list of items he wanted out.
But I believe
Yeah,
he bought the golf cart.
he got golf cart and
This fiscal year.
he had money in, I think Julie's, one of the accounts. Julie approved it, he got money in for.
But when you're showing your park,
Yeah, sure.
touring the facilities,
It just shifted as a requested expense.
And got
Next, we put it, moving it into this resource support budget.
All right, well, that found $108,000, so
was it,
it's
was there a formula there?
yeah. So the total now is 428.19.
So to help me, help Julie, will you give me the line items and the adjustment that should be made for them?
I only see two.
3,500 here,
Right?
8,500 here.
Where's that 85,000, I guess 8,500, gotcha.
Which still seems high, but. And this number, right, this number is formula driven, Ed. This one right here,
Okay.
but this one for some reason is not, and it's the surplus, I don't like using the word contingency, it's a surplus. That number should increase by the 108 as well.
Yes, it should. But the two line item adjustments are
Yeah.
3,500 and 8,500.
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha.
I was trying to find that.
I don't really see a whole lot of fat to trim out of the manor, fortunately.
I was trying to find his lunch list, his ice maker, his,
But he got the ice maker this year because the ice maker,
The die, yeah, well, there you go.
so he didn't ask him for any capital for next year.
He has it for 8,500.
Yeah, like I said. What else was on there?
so
And
we,
it's just software. I didn't see anything to do with like,
no, so after, in those sheets right there, that you got, after, yeah, past,
that's all I got. I mean, there's no golf cart.
Ice maker he got.
Yeah.
Golf cart was on one that I saw.
you might have seen McKendrick when you was in my office and I showed you his, I showed McKendrick when he met with me, a list, but that list got real consolidated because, well, to your point, we gotta make sure where you at business wise, so I'm not playing Santa Claus. Per se, let's make sure that you are hitting these marks.
And the white resin. The chairs.
The chairs came in,
But he
They
got
were
those
ordered.
Yeah, they were in
Actually,
order.
They've been ordered
They've
last
been
year.
ordered. he just didn't know. They've been ordered.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of that stuff got crossed out because he wasn't aware of purchase orders.
I would think that the software that he was looking at, I think it's either included in 712370, Everbridal. I think that's a booking software.
You know,
And then it wouldn't surprise me if it's 713440 under contracted service. What is Active Network? That sounds like some sort of,
And that's another software.
That's so what they're doing, and when they get it up and running, I'll make sure they come and show y'all that in the council meeting. But it's where you can go online and book the fields, like you can select the field, the book, you can see the available dates without calling and do everything online. Yes, ma'am. Do everything online, pay deposit, book it, whatever.
let's see much else on here for.
Because no matter how we do the system, I want to be able to have a general ledger system that from every booking and deposit, that's following all the way to the town's general ledger. That we really, because right now, it's kind of like we take it out of the cigar box and we bring it up and we deposit it to the bank. And I don't, I mean, there's nothing inappropriate about that. It's just, we're having to do a lot of double entries, a lot of manual financial journal entries to do that. I would much rather have a system that just flows. Every time you do that, you key it in, it's flowing across the system.
And here's to another point that Ted just brought up. Any software that we look at needs to be able to merge into those programs. So when they key in something on active, it needs to be keyed in on whatever software we simultaneously.
So they've already bought active.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, and
That
every,
was in the
and every software service is gonna tell me, oh, that's an easy integration. It's not always an easy
Until
integration.
it's not.
Yeah.
So you sign the dotted line, then there's a little bit of issue with that.
Yeah, my original piece in the administrative conversation of this was to go with, something like Civics Plus. Where they have a lot of those integrations into it for recreation, event space, our building process. It is higher, but you don't have to go outside. It's all in one system. And it's what most municipalities use to a degree.
What about his blinds?
Those are in,
Those are in here, or they already?
no, his blinds are there installed.
Okay. They're really,
That's not
Okay.
good.
The motorized one.
Yes.
If you see anything else on, I don't see anything else, I don't see really anywhere else we can travel.
No, I think,
I think we need to look for some sort of incentivized salary to where the more you sell, the more you get paid.
So how about this? Cause you said that a few
I
times.
have.
Let's work up something, send it to us, give us,
All right,
And he may already have ideas, because he's already commented
Who,
several,
Frank?
yeah, he's already commented several times. Wait, several times with regards to Kim and her, sales techniques for, new, bookings and things like that, so.
I mean, I'm serious, he's got lots of ideas.
Yeah.
Start that conversation.
So
That's also.
Devil's in the details.
Yeah, there you go.
Devil's
Yeah, be cool.
Yeah.
in the details.
Mr. Mayor,
Good.
I don't see anything else where we can work off of that. I think it kind of is what it is right now. And if we can't cut expenses, there's only one thing we can do. We got to up revenue. I've got to figure out a way to do it.
And I do think that is their mode. I think that is,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, they're, every month is more and more, so I mean, they're doing something right.
They could give us a pro forma, a ballpark of where they think the revenue is gonna come in based on current bookings and estimated projected bookings. And they should be able to estimate the entire fiscal year of next year on a month-by-month basis. And we can easily take the expenses and issue projections on a monthly basis for expenses. I mean, hell, I just did the math real quick, and my number's actually high because I had the wrong number, but it's probably gonna be somewhere around $1,200 a day to operate that on a 365-day basis. So maybe a little less. So goal will be to cover your nut on a daily basis. Some days you cover it more than, some days you don't, so.
Let me ask this question. Is there an appetite of the council? I know we talk about all these projections and things, and this takes a lot of intelligent minds sitting and doing this. Would there be any appetite to park money for services to develop these tools in real time so we can see? Or would you just take our estimates internally, working with Fred and pulling numbers?
You talking about if you had your accounting software on the cloud where you could literally log in and look at the revenue and expenses as of end of the day each day?
Yeah.
I think that's a little too much for $3 million budget. Seems pretty high tech. I understand what you're saying.
But that plus having someone come in and get these tools up and running. That's the most important part, so that you can see these graphs, you see what the performance is, and it cuts your wait time down. That's what I'm trying to get.
So. Cause I think, I feel like we gotta get the new finance system in place,
In person,
and they would be the ones to go through that, transition. And the vendor would be assisting, right? Part of your contract would indicate that they would help you with that transition from when you gotta phase out the old. But at that
Yeah.
point, shouldn't it be working at that point?
well, I think what I'm hearing the mayor say is that we may have an opportunity. I get a little nervous when I rely solely on the vendor, because if something's not really working well, they tend to cover it up. They don't share with us why that's not working as well as it needs to. What I think I'm hearing is that they're waiting, and there are people who do this, financial consultants who literally will come in and shepherd a migration from an old system to a new system. And that may be money well spent. It'll shorten the window. And you have an unbiased third party who's, they're not defending the vendor. And they're not defending us as staff, that if we, you can make a bad decision. They're, so I think that's what.
yes, sir. And we got, yeah, and also with that we can get these tools. So some of this stuff that you all are asking for, we can have it quicker, much quicker than onboarding someone, seeing that they have the skill to do. It just speeds up getting this information out there.
An example I would give you is, I know many retired finance directors around the state that use really good software systems. That could be the kind of folks that would come in and say, yeah, I'll come over and work with you for 30 days and help us make the transition. Because that's all they're doing. They're not doing all the other work. You know, but those people are active.
I thought, because I've done multiple implementations of databases and vendors and logs, to the point of I was always so integrated with making sure things worked, and when we sunset, yeah, you're gonna have, but, having a.
We may even run dual. To our comfort is, it is doing what it needs to do.
Yeah. But I think that's gonna be critical right now, given that we don't have somebody prepared to come in Julie's place at this time. So I think it's just kind of the chicken or the egg, which one's gonna come first, Julie's replacement, or, identifying what system, and starting to make a move on that.
I mean, another advantage to a financial consultant is you would have that person to assist you while the search is going on. Or after the person's hired.
Yeah, no, I really wasn't.
Both ways.
I really wasn't thinking of it from a standpoint, they may be actually doing the processing.
Yeah, I'm not saying
But
they're paying
but that could be an option, as well as that we have someone who's kind of doing that backfill to
Mhm.
make sure all of that's moving forward. My original thought was really someone who is making the transition.
Migration.
The migration, yeah, the old system.
And helping determine what we're migrating to. Because there's, like you said, any good salesman, part of the way, is gonna tell you, he's gonna do all that in the back.
What we needed to do, and he just happens to have the product, to do it all.
So
But I do,
yes,
but
ma'am.
I would appreciate something a little bit better than having to look through our, monthly, reporting. I think just knowing quickly what's going on, the health, what do we need to attend to and whatnot, and let's go, and let's move on.
And that's my, so someone with those expertise with the tool, so that we're getting all this transitional data, but we're also getting tools that you would be like, that's what you want to know. You get quick down and dirty. So if there's an appetite, we'll spend some time to see, talk with some of these folks, see what they can do, willing to do on our end.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's something that you grow into, that you've got capacity as you continue to grow, and the complexity of the organization gets a little more over time, that you already have something that can absorb that complexity.
It grows with you. Yeah.
It grows with you.
You're gonna put a proposal together on the admin search.
If you want me to do anything different, I mean,
Is that,
different than the one I've already given you.
yeah, well, I know we discussed it before, now, I think that's where we landed, you've already given us one.
Yeah.
How hard would it be to get a number on what a financial consultant
I'll make some phone calls.
for the migration, helping fix software?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking, I know some folks I know a person that recently retired from the city of Columbia in the finance department.
Okay.
That might be a good fit for something like that, close by.
Just curious what that would.
So let's bring that back, see if we can bring that back on the 22nd. That way, if we need to adjust, which we would need to adjust this budget.
And then can we get the fiscal year 25 actual updated before the May meeting? Just so it has to be
April.
March.
So we'll see April.
Yes. Yes. I'm saying yes. I think the journal entries are close enough that we can get that to roll over. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think she has those by the second week. But this is another issue.
Yeah.
It's got key all these in.
Yeah.
Y'all good on move to page 10?
I am, sir.
Okay. We asked this question, I know I put in for the improvements and the capital improvements, and I know it come back from you all at zero. Is there any appetite to do anything as far as capital improvements?
It would be the item under
Line item,
at the bottom.
yes, ma'am, at
Okay,
the bottom.
okay, okay.
And I'm saying this, I put those down. But let me give you my top. All right. My top would be a farmer's market and pickleball courts.
In that order?
Mhm.
Do we know? Do we know what the farmer's market bid is now?
Yep. Just for what it's worth, the numbers on this are vastly under.
I understand, but that's why I said, what are the new farmer's market?
The pavilion on the docomeadows.org website is 2.25 million.
How old is that?
You have to ask Gary. It's probably more than that now, but.
Yeah, I asked,
You were
so,
2.5 tonight, if not close to.
I mean,
The little shed
what
we
we
built was
get out there was
$500,000.
$500,000, and it's
And we're talking about
Too
some
bad.
four to five times bigger.
easy.
And I'm not thrilled about the idea for the locations. I don't have an appetite for any projects this year. We're still finishing a project.
My only hesitation is, I think, take your pick or whatever order, I think pickleball courts, I think the first question would be location, and then $750,000, I think is, I mean, I don't know how many you're talking about, unless you're talking about one. That's, all of these are expensive propositions. And just look at what we did with the pavilion and the soccer field, we spent over $1 million. The only thing that really wasn't there was the pavilion and bathrooms, they leveled up a field, irrigated it, built 2 bathrooms, and it was over $1 million. So pickleball courts, where would you put those?
pickleball courts would be right there with the new pavilion, the restrooms on that field piece right there. Down the hill. Some of the pickleball experts I talked to, if we went 8 or 16 to them gives you tournament style. It sets you up for tournaments, regional type tournaments. 6 to 8 gets you, comfortable kind of, normal gameplay situations. If we went 16, that's on the high end. The good thing about it, we have all the infrastructure there that's needed for lighting. They don't have to come back in and wire, anything on that side. So you're talking concrete surface, is what they recommend now with pickleball.
There been any conversation with, the Richland County?
Up here,
Yes,
yes,
with
they are-
regards to their tennis court?
yes, ma'am, they are actually redoing their tennis courts right now up there. That is part of their improvement.
Or tennis or pickleball?
Whether you can use it for either one, it's kind of however you play.
Could we support their effort?
I tried that 1 year, I wanted to support,
So that way,
That is beyond the scope of that is not our responsibility.
Yeah.
I tried 1 year, I wanted to do half. But
We already support it with our property tax.
I get what
someone else's property, I'm thinking it's our town that's gonna benefit from that. But how can we get there collectively for the greater good? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying
Yeah.
to use and not have to do all by ourselves.
I would love that. I think 1 year I did talk about, splitting costs with them, met with Richland County on that. At that time, it was, I want to say it was like a $25,000 cost split to redo that whole area there.
Like an intergovernment agreement of some sort. I mean, if you had to do things like that, but maybe I'm just too much on the private entity, private side to where that doesn't really work in government.
But
No, I mean, I mean, I've done lots of projects with a county and say, you know, they may say, they own the land and we may put money in to build something that they wouldn't have done because they've already tapped out their budget. I mean, there's opportunities like that. I guess my concern is, I think the price tag is gonna be pretty high.
For where they already have,
But, well,
because you know where they already have it, and those tennis courts are not being used, so it's like revamping
Wow.
their area.
and that'll be much more economical. You know, the note I made is, you know, I can call around a few folks and say, who's built pickleball courts lately? And what does it cost you? You built 16, what would it have cost you?
That's what I did, Lexington.
Okay,
And we can circle back, I'll get you in on that conversation.
Okay.
Lexington just built 16, but they didn't have any infrastructure, no bathrooms. So it was, I want to say it was like 1.8 for them on theirs.
you had my land as well.
They didn't have any, they started
Right.
So where would that be again?
back here where the new restrooms, the pavilion, down on the backside, down the hill in that field.
Field that we just leveled off.
It's gotta be flat.
Yeah.
I don't have an appetite for that, but that's just me.
I really would like more for the walkers. And that would mean standstill, but, I'm definitely on board for the farmer's market, given that we're not gonna get any state money. So it's definitely gonna be private or grant or you know, produced. Can you talk me through the other pieces? Like you had a senior activity center, what was the thought process there? As far as like,
So the thought process of a senior activity center is focused on the Sandfield property. As we look at those spots there, having an activity area, activity center, space for the seniors when they can go for senior resources. Just a place where we are taking care of our seniors, keeping them active. So it's more focused recreation and, food service. You have a place where they can go and, play games. I mean, bingo is big in the senior, community, just a gathering spot for seniors. One workaround of that is, and I'm trying to look at the manner time frames during the daytime. On some of those days where nothing has been booked, let's just see if that's an outlet for seniors to be able to kind of gather in, one of the rooms, play bingo, have a gathering, bridge, whatever the case may be.
because right now from the drawings that were done last year with the sand field, there wasn't really an indoor facility to that extent, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then, what was the other,
The ball fields.
yeah,
Yep, and that's contributing to the Sandfield property as well, to develop some type of additional field space over there on that property.
okay, it's right.
Which-
it looks
which I
like it's
believe-
Soccer.
One, soccer, baseball, whichever we feel is feasible. I just said ball fields, so
Okay.
whichever we feel is feasible for that. That would also more than likely contribute to trails on that side. That will start that piece from the ball fields. And then the Bethel Henbury Gym is just a revisit, to the gym that we have, put on at least twice. Now, I think, I could be wrong, but twice or maybe 3 times. The gym is still there, available.
With no parking.
Will we own it?
I know contract's still the same, sir.
Then the answer is absolutely not for me on that.
I think for me, we have the piece that we did for the McLean property, the Sandfield property. I think I would like to see a proposed takedown of that master plan and then, which I would recommend we do in phases and then get the prices in those phases.
What's the takedown like? A budget, like a proposal?
Absolutely.
Well, the farmer's market says $22 million.
No, it's not 22, it's.
Then your website is-
2.2.
Then your website's wrong.
Hang on. Pause, please.
I'm talking about the
So
state field law.
the community pavilion is 2.2.
That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about.
And then the sand field, yes, that whole thing and everything that's been drawn out would be the 22.
So phase that 22
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
So if we said we wanted to phase that out in 4 phases over 3 years, 4 years, whatever. And now we're budgeting for this in phase 1, so the community knows what we're
Yeah.
getting. It feels like kind of a, I'm sure it's not for you, Mayor, but it does to me say, okay, in the 26 budget, we want a senior activity center. I'm saying that, well, it wasn't even it wasn't in the master plan. At least the first one we've done. So
but could it be part of the 4,
yeah,
proposal?
if they redid the master plan and now show,
Yeah, but I'm just trying to say, like, if you do it in sections, then that way you can start and say, okay,
anything, I've only been involved with 2 where we phased out a master plan, but the final phase was different than what that final phase looked like when you started. I mean, you tweak it and it's a living.
Are you referring to projects in Rock Hill?
Yeah.
Okay. Rock Hill has something that we don't.
Money.
Miller.
Well, we have money. They have the ability to do
Yeah.
something. We do not. And I don't know what some of you are sitting here at this table thinking that we could possibly finance a $25 million project over 4 years. This is,
Well, you wouldn't finance it over 4 years, you would try to finance it over
That's-
a whole lot longer than that.
well, can we though? You can't bind future councils.
Well, they get to use
No, but
facilities corp and facilities corporation.
this, I think to even start the conversation about this, it'd have to be a public-private partnership, minimum.
I don't argue that either, and we have the right,
We very well
We have
may,
to-
but I don't think that's something that's even gonna be started this year.
I'm not agreeing that we started this year. I'm agreeing that we get a plan on starting.
Yeah.
Because we'll be here next year. If we don't plan on starting that conversation and taking it down, then I think you piecemeal it. You do just what we did with the pavilion over there.
No, I understand that, but my point is, if we're not even looking to entertain it right now, we can just move past this and revisit it.
Yeah, I don't
disagree. 2 months.
And none of this came up in our goal setting. That, at Farmers Market has always been.
But
I
I
mean,
would
we
say-
would have the money to pay if this was, no, I think there's a $5 or $6 million in the bank, and some of this could be hospitality, some of it could be accommodations. But then, then you're literally at zero.
Because those dollars are in your general fund unrestricted.
Unrestricted. But I would argue any single one of these, we would probably double the budget.
At least 50% more.
I mean, it's a lot. And as we know, you're in your first budget process. Second. Already, it's your second. I mean,
But that's
budget
where I
comes
think
quick.
anytime that we have an opportunity to talk about moving forward and seeing something for the town, for the benefit of the town, is worth having the conversation, even though it may not be a resolution here this evening, it still opens that door and it brings it to light and we can have that. We just need to keep it on the table and have a conversation until we can get there.
There've been many projects that I've done over the years that you do that work, but you may not cut the ribbon for 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one, but lots of things have to happen, and one of those is establishing priorities. Figuring out a financing plan, what is that gonna look like? Knowing that every year that you don't do it, the cost goes up the following year. I mean, those are all factors that you want to do that. I mean, the cost of doing something today is a lot cheaper than it'll be a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that prevents us from discussing this once a quarter, every half year. We don't have to talk about it one time during budget season.
And the Bethelheim gym, I mean, we need to try to keep that line of communication open and try to move it beyond the stalemate because the town loses, the county loses, and the building deteriorates.
Well, the county doesn't have anything to do with it. That's the school district and they can't let it fall down.
But
But
I mean, the school district, but
I don't think the town loses at all, simply because
the only reason I say the town loses is we lose a significant historical building.
I don't think they can let it fall down. They have to keep it up because it's historical. So they've got to maintain it. I'm of the opinion if they want to sell it, maybe we're their buyer. But until then, I can't, I won't speak for any of you, but I'm pretty confident that you're not willing to invest $1 million in a building that could potentially be taken away from you in 5 years. That's a horrible deal.
It is.
And I hope they hear this.
I hope the conversation continues.
Well, oh, I think it's always open, but I'm not an investor with zero ROI.
Agree.
Ms. Page, I'm sorry.
So any movement with regards to the farmer's market pavilion?
Where, do you know where the foundation is? Is the foundation on pause, waiting for the town?
No, we're not waiting for the town. We did, or I did. I don't know if the mayor did, but we did seek out funding from the state with regards to the CIP. And we all know where that is right now. All money's been taken off the table with regards to the community investment piece from the state that normally occurs. So that's a pass on this year. There are other ways in which looking into to identify funds that exist. Private sector, grant money, perhaps. I don't think lobbying is gonna get us anywhere just from the state's perspective but I think your outlets are definitely the private and grant. So that's where we're working towards.
I've been hit a couple times on, and I've answered them obviously the best of my ability, but I've been hit a couple times on why do we do the bathrooms in the little pavilion over there and not start the farmer's market? Well, it's just
I think it's dollar.
the chicken or the egg and the dollar amount ahead.
Well, also, that's not you need facilities. You're gonna have events over there, you need facilities. That's a pretty easy answer.
If you know anything other than the CIP money from the state perspective,
No, so everything is on hold. I had several meetings before your request with them and all the indicators from me being in the state house was, there's some no-go. Those,
Both the Senate
the
and the
Senate
House.
and the
take care of
House.
them.
so when I thought that early on, that was coming down the pipeline. The only difference is if they do come back and do some amendments throughout the year. I do have something parked that does encompass the farmer's market into that. So if they do it, hopefully that gets flushed in and we'll see. So a lot of your members at the state is kind of hoping for some budget amendment, something later. That's all we can do right now.
just keep asking.
But I mean, I'm kind of the assumption that's one of those loan projects that's been talked about for a little bit, farmer's market.
Well, because it is unrestricted fund balance, not part of your general fund operating budget, you can bring this back anytime. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
so to, just say, you want to spend time evaluating, what do we do first, what's the priorities? You can certainly proceed with that. It doesn't change your general operating fund.
Well, 3 of them, if not 4, would qualify for hospitality or accommodations and you can use those funds too. But again, restricting your funding down to 0 is probably not the wisest move.
And I did have a conversation, with Mr. Scotty about updating us with those, plans. So, and we talked about some of the things that Mayor Pro Tem wanted added to that piece. that pavilion, they're close the doors, those things have it multi-use, facet and stuff.
I think it has.
So I brought all that back up, just so that they can bring it back to us with.
I know Richland County has the penny for roads. Does Richland County have capital projects those
You
times?
know, we can do our own,
We can do our own thing.
and we'll have that chamber flooded with people telling us how terrible we are, but we can do it.
And that's how Lexington did their
So-
pavilion.
So,
Could do our own.
so not to get too far ahead, there's, I've been in meeting with some folks at Commerce on that, on to come in and educate us on that process. What it would take to go through that, if that's something,
A millage or a penny.
we need.
That's giving us rain.
Would be.
Yes, it is.
So,
And the farmer's market has the foundation. Is the new site for the farmer's market Sandfield, is that what is being bought into? Is it here?
It's right here.
It's still here.
It's still here.
Whatever happened to this benefactor that was supposed to be supposedly out there that was looking to fund approximately half of the expense if the town would match it?
Brought it up here lately. I'm just trying to find the other half.
So it still exists?
I'm like, once I have the money, then we can find out if all of it's there, you know? So, yeah, I mean, like, what good is it for me to keep asking about the other half when I don't have the other, you know, when I don't have the full amount?
No, I understand that, but if collectively we said, all right, if we think it's a $2 million bill, we say, all right, we'll put up $1 million.
And that's when we get to them if they're ready.
Well, what if they say no?
Well, I'm not gonna play the what if game, I'm here. to
Well,
play-
you absolutely are playing the what if game.
I'm trying to find the dollars.
so if I'm
Good luck.
hearing you,
Thank you.
if I'm hearing you correct, if we said we got $1 million,
Take it to them and see, yeah. I mean, they're not holding the money, yeah, the foundation's not holding the money.
but you have to take our document that's basically said, yeah, we're gonna fund $1 million. And take it to them to say, hey, the town's funding $1 million, y'all
They're
ready?
ready.
Well, that would be worded that we had matching funds in the amount of $1 million, our side, for a $2 million investment. And for 2 years, we let $500,000 float in that budget. Matching funds for the foundation, and they never took us up on it. But they could never land the plane of the donation. So then we took it out of the budget last year.
Exactly. I'm not convinced it exists.
No, we didn't spend it.
Well, to the,
No, they moved it right down to
That was
unrestricted.
that was a state earmark. It was at least 750 of it was,
We moved that amount to the unrestricted.
whatever it was after the security upgrade.
$5.
Wasn't there some leftover,
It was
hundred
leftover.
something thousand left over in addition to the 5?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was state money. That wasn't that money.
do it, we can approach it that way and. you know,
I'd certainly be willing to vote on the wording of that. To get that to the foundation, if that's holding up a potential gift.
So maybe if that's something,
They met tonight, so,
yeah, we can,
so we can reach out to them.
Maybe you can give me a history lesson on foundation. Later. Later. Thank you.
So- Yeah.
In the facilities court and
Yeah.
how they all coexist.
Yeah, I'm a little more familiar with that.
But at least there's
Well-
something that we can,
get with me, so if it's something we can put on the 27th agenda, if we can do some wording that will convince this other partner.
got it.
All right, anything else on 10? I think we done with 10. All right, hearing none, 11.
Who's communicating back to Julie on?
I would know.
So you've left the improvements all at 0?
Yeah, that number right there, the 30 apparently. Yes, man, the only thing on page 11,
Yes.
Yes, sir, 11.
those capital outlays, let's just put money aside to fund future repairs or purchases. On page 11, the only thing I think that we had changed, well, we upped the state A tax. Cause I think that number's gonna come in close to, if not above 250 for this calendar year, and hopefully.
We're probably exceeding what's already.
Probably.
Yeah, we're definitely exceeding two. So we bumped that up to 250 based on the monthly projection we had at the time, which would have been through February.
Mhm.
And the other change was the Historical Society employee and maintenance. We stripped that out. We knocked that down by 10,000 simply because we couldn't understand why they continually need $10,000 for maintenance.
Mhm.
I mean, the house has been completely redone. So if they can bring some sort of,
Project list.
yeah, that shows it. Otherwise, I don't feel comfortable just writing a $10,000 maintenance check on an annual basis because quite frankly, I just don't see how they need it.
And it still begs the question. The town under previous administration started the Historical Society. And we have subsidized it since. And the town in prior administration started the chamber. And I get that call regularly. Why across the street from the chamber is a Historical Society not open every day of the week, and we fund a part-time employee, and we are not helping the chamber outside of a
Regular.
sponsorship. And I know the history because I know where we went. We went way too far with the chamber, and then we, in my opinion, way overcorrected. I get that question a lot too. Two nonprofits that the town started, one we support an employee and $10,000 in maintenance until this year if we pass this budget. And we don't do the same, even if it's not the same categorization. We don't do anything for the chamber. So I'm just saying I get that question a lot. Both sell memberships, one gets dues, one supports the business community, one supports the historical efforts of the town. Just putting it out there.
But you do acknowledge they're not apples to apples.
Oh, absolutely. They're not. I know that. But if I was comparing apples to apples, I would probably put my money toward what generated revenue for the town, which is the chamber.
To a certain extent.
But I do agree, they just went through a facelift. There can't be much maintenance. I don't know if everybody around this table has heard, I have. I was unaware that Blythewood had historical windmills. But we evidently have a couple. And the Historical Society is after one of them to move to the historical site. And they're certainly looking for funding to help that. I do think I heard secured someplace.
Original county.
Richland County. So, but I was unaware of that. And I floated the idea, if they're gonna move a working windmill, the Sanefield property should be at least explored to move a working windmill to versus the back lot of the Historical Society.
That would be it.
And there's a wetlands there that is,
It's back in.
That would be it to differ, then maybe we need to start that. Are you talking about moving the windmill when you drive in the entrance and it's there? Then that means we need to start at least that piece then if they're gonna move it.
but that would take a conversation between, obviously, your administration, the Historical Society. Yes, we want to preserve it. Obviously, Jim is tied to both pieces, but it would just make sense to me to. Because they're talking about redoing, it,
Yeah.
like refurbishing. it. Anyway,
Well, if there's more than one, then.
absolutely, but I don't know, I don't know what that. Just wanted to put it out there.
What's their timeline?
Soon,
Same.
like they're getting funding from Richland County, and they're gonna start it out sooner rather than later. So that one's probably off the table.
Well, not necessarily.
I think it's pretty quick. They came and asked about, they needed permits to move it.
It's probably all.
Move the city.
What was the answer to that? I'm just kind of curious. Okay.
And you've not thought about it.
So, it's at least the conversation piece. And that would be, that would be until, excuse me, I'm sorry. That would be it then until, so I'm guessing you're talking somewhere in that loop.
Somewhere in that square of the loop, yeah,
Okay. So that means
and that's where the water is.
mhm.
I have no clue.
It's worth a conversation with each other.
Other than what Councilman Brock mentioned, I'm good on the letter.
Okay. Ms. Page,
Okay.
I'm assuming that the far right column, the tourism related 146, 250 is because we upped. Brock, is that why that went from 116 mayor's recommendation to 146? Because we upped H-tax, A-tax.
Yes, we're going up by about 50 grand,
All that
but well, 50 grand minus
general fund
5%,
allocation,
65% of that 50.
advertising and promotion and tourism.
Yeah, that's a formula, that's
Formula.
that formula driven. Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I can check the math, but. Hope it's right. Dangerous thing to look at.
all right, page 12.
You didn't see, there wasn't a lot of pushback on this. The only question I have is, and I think there was a new InDesign proposal of over $100,000. Why does that number keep going up 20 to 30% every single year? It's getting out of control. Why is that?
So to my understanding, that's some new pieces added. So the idea was to add new pieces, every year.
Okay. At what point do you not add new pieces and you just, you built out your house?
Yes, sir, I understand, but this house was built before we entered, you and I were on council when this would come. Yeah, and so it was one of those things, they add pieces. If we want to stop, let's put a stop. Yeah,
or can we pause?
we can pause.
And I think one of the additions was the 12 days of.
The 12 out there. The
I
drive.
looked through that, got the drive through.
And that's something that,
They're doing their job if they come and say, here's what I want to add next year. And
Well, yeah,
here's
well,
what
they're
it'll cost.
getting
They're doing a
compensated.
Good job. Yeah.
Yeah, they're driving the cart versus us.
and I think the Manor side, they have some ideas with that 12 days of Christmas. Trying to draw in some revenue. I know they talked about playing Christmas music through your car and kind of like charging, driving through. So they're exploring options to make revenue.
Let's revisit that number.
Are you talking about the 81?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, everything else just goes to a holding fund, which I don't believe you're not obligated to spend immediately, local or hospitality.
So you want to pause the 81?
Yes. Well, I just want to review it. I'm not saying that the number is 81. I think the number will be less because they're going to at least charge us a storage fee and a decorating fee to put out the stuff that we currently have, which is the lights on the trees. It's the
pole.
it's the poles, which
Little car.
yeah, the little truck, which I don't understand why our staff can't actually put up the banners and take the banners down. It's like $1,500 to put up banners. That's insane.
Yeah,
Say safety.
yeah, we don't have the equipment for that, sir.
I ain't putting man
We don't have the equipment. We're gonna invest in a bucket truck and then I will, be like, I agree with you.
There were some items on that were excessive. I just haven't looked at it. It's all the price tags.
Let's do this, let's make sure that we get a comprehensive update on the Christmas lights on that proposal. Yes, sir. And we'll just pause it there when we talk to Julie. And then, can we do that in the May meeting? give y'all just an update, or do you want it separate in an email?
Do it in the next meeting.
Okay.
Well, you can send it out and then we can have questions, but do the update in the May meeting. I think that makes the most sense.
Okay, let's do the 22nd. We'll get her to do a presentation.
Well, it'll, I just, again, clarification. We will have a budget ordinance and a budget at that May meeting for first reading. Obviously it can be amended. So so we leave it in with an update, or I take it out with an update,
I would leave it in.
leave it in, and then if someone
In
says.
this case, that's what it
We
is.
need to take it out.
Well, we can amend it for second reading.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, leave it in, so for that,
Okay.
but just know that
All right, page 12 good, we're on 13. All right, let me say, let me know when y'all at town events.
Good.
Okay. All right. In the May meeting, there will be a section on the agenda, park security. There are several items that will be presented to you all for park security. Everything from addition of cameras out here. Those quotes, that quote came in, I needed something else added for the playground area. The fencing with the gates. The fencing quote will be in the May.
Permanent fencing?
Yes, sir. Yeah. You know, we need to see how much, because we all guessing on this. So that's gonna be there, and then added security costs for 4th of July moving forward in Juneteenth. So that the security cost is a rough estimate based off of 8 to 10,000 in attendance for that. But I'm saying that because just in general, if I done the math on the numbers that I have just for security right now, you're looking somewhere like 13.8, so I rounded up to 14. That's just at a base.
per event.
Yes, well, if you get 8,000 to 10,000 people, so I'm looking at our June 4th of July numbers.
Okay.
Juneteenth numbers are significantly lower. It's around 500 to 600 in attendance, for that. I'm only saying that because if moving forward, your high cost will be security costs.
You mean actually,
I mean, like your ongoing costs. Once you put up,
Marshall County Sheriff's
Yes.
Deputy.
that's the sheriff's
Extra
department.
cameras are a one-time cost.
Mhm.
Your fence is a one-time cost.
So that's not just Richland County Sheriff, that's the Sheriff's Department, that's SLED, Highway Patrol, and State Guard is in that plan.
And what about lighting?
So lighting can be temporarily dropped in on that back corner. Because for like movies, the light, if we brighten up that stadium lighting on that side, you wouldn't be able to see the movie, but for temporary lighting, that's included in your security package.
Camera lighting, that. The cameras are fixed
Mhm.
and then the lighting's temporary. But would like a more permanent, not stadium spotlight, but something like, when movement happened, like the floodlights, yeah. More, something more permanent on that backside. Even the sidewalk around the pond. It gets really black, dark black back there. And then you got the gates that will be, and all of this will be in place and after approval in place and no issues for the dates in which the Juneteenth would be the earliest one, right? Is that?
This should be.
This is for next fiscal year. You already canceled this
So
year.
it'll be a pretty
So-
comprehensive.
Yes, it will be.
For this budget, movies in the park, you can strike that down to 0 for now. It could be amended, but that'd be a 0, and Rockin' Red, White, and Blue would be a 0. Because we canceled it. Those events fall in the new fiscal year. July 3rd or 4th, it's the new fiscal year. That's this.
Although there are some that come out of both budgets.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But July 4th does.
So we've already paid for what comes out of this.
You already,
Yeah. So Juneteenth is a variable. Because you got a whole year and 2 months.
Veterans Day last year was a
dinner.
A dinner.
And it was a, airman.
Purple Heart was a dinner.
Mhm.
in your parade.
Christmas parade.
So, I just wanted to put that out for you guys, so,
Can we get that a week in advance? We got time to look at it?
yes, sir. I'll get you, and then if it's something missing, because you realize I'm waiting on partners too to.
That's fine.
And give, and that will be identified.
Okay, great.
Yes, ma'am.
I would, okay, so there's, and if we can get an update with regards to what funds are remaining from those events for this calendar year. Okay, good. So that way we can see how we might be able to.
That's a key part. It's not.
We're working on that with contracts, to make sure,
Okay. And then maybe we can talk about those ideas or one.
so let me make sure. I heard 0 for movies in the park.
For now.
There's gonna be change.
I just want to make sure.
Rockin' Red, White, and Blue, 0. That also can be changed
Can be changed.
because you're gonna have to have access to funds.
Well, in this budget, it won't be.
So it would be.
You have some.
Some.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
The back end.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But
Some.
that's, we can change
Yeah,
it.
it can be amended. And Juneteenth, I mean, I don't know if you need 25 grand, but some number.
You still need, we budget 25 grand for these events, y'all. Moving forward, I think after y'all see these prices and what it's gonna take to do events.
Well, let's see.
So that 5110, 373 goes to 40.
Goes to 40,
Yeah, because you took
15 and
you took
25.
40 out.
so it'd be 45.
I'm sorry, 45.
And yes, you got 15, you got 25.
Movies in the park and Rockin' Red, White, and Blue.
40, that's 40.
Not 25.
Right,
Yeah,
yes.
still,
We leave it on 45.
Okay, gotcha.
Huh? 14,
Have we gotten any feedback, Mr. Mayor, as far as Lakewood and Westwood High School and the $5,000 we give them? Do you get feedback from that?
I haven't seen any, and I appreciate you asking, because I will ask.
I mean, if it's
No.
it's 10 grand,
Yeah.
granted, it's woefully
Sure it's being used properly, but
woefully less than we
should request a letter from each principal with the
how they spend.
outlining the uses of the funds. It's very simple. It take them,
Good point. And so that letter needs to go to any agency that we provide dollars to that are not, it's a town function.
Which would be everything on
So
the.
the historical museum, anybody that we send our dollars to, they have to provide us with an accounting of how, of their resources, and they have to tell us what the benefit is to the town of those
So
funds.
we're hitting the HTAX requirement.
Right.
Yeah, agree.
which is a low bar.
It is.
Of the three funding sources, it's a low bar.
But it's a bar.
You,
At least we have, we've hit.
I'll give the high schools a little quick, little nugget. Charge all your security, you're covered. Listen to this meeting, security, it's clearly stated in the statute, security. So all the Richland County deputies that you pay at your events, charge it to that. That's easy.
And there is no, art and ag tour this year that's
Well,
coming
that
in
makes it easy.
like Twitter, Richland.
Yeah, 0.
Thanks, sure.
All Fairfield.
All Fairfield.
That was the complete opposite. Felt like I saw more of Richland than I did Fairfield.
Last year you probably did, this year it's all Fairfield.
All right, so would y'all be okay with receiving that email from them or having them come to the meeting?
They could just send an email to you and Mr. Driggers. It doesn't have to come to us. That's a box y'all have to check, not us.
We just need to be put in the.
So,
Correct.
And they can
Hold it, what, retain it, what, maybe 3 years or something like that, yeah. That's not something that just comes to us.
just check.
Are there any in the town of Blythewood? In the town of Blythewood?
No,
Creek Road, Blythewood,
That's not the town.
Fable, got Franklin Street.
I don't think there's any town, any farms in the town.
Right, that's what I'm like,
So,
oh, Muller Road, Blythewood, which is the flowers. Mhm. You have one hubcap, you got Langford Road with the Paradise K Plantation. I mean, you had some pretty good ones. I was surprised I didn't see as many for Fairfield.
yeah, I, doesn't matter to me.
I think it's great,
The census,
great.
I'd take it out, but that's me.
I leave it in. That's me.
Well, I'm choosing Rich Tank.
Well, you know what? If you want to take it out and then do a budget amendment and vote on it, then do that. Or the other way around. Either way, we can vote on it, so it doesn't matter.
how about this? It's $500. Let's leave it and see what, let's leave and let's see.
Why don't you ask them what we got for our $500 at this current?
That's what I'm saying. When I go back and ask, and we'll see what's going on with the new, if we
Okay.
did 500.
They should be up here on Wednesday for the farmers
There you
market.
go.
Oh,
Well, they got 3 weeks.
All right. Page 15.
Didn't we already buy the dishwasher?
Mhm.
All right, so that can come off. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Councilman McKendrick and I talked about this. We do not want to get into the tent business. That is a terrible idea because the amount of manpower necessary to pack, unpack, set up, take down, the liability associated with it, we don't want that.
Store properly.
Yes, storage. That's a bad idea. If people want to use tents, let them rent them. We can rent them on their behalf or let them direct them to a source. You don't want to own a 40 by 40.
If you put that tent up, down one time, and then a wedding comes in and you're opening it up for a bride,
Mold,
And
mildew.
it's mildewed on the inside now, that is just not, it sounds great, but it, being in the tent business sucks.
I run events. I would never want to own a tent. No chance.
Unfortunately, I had the job of being on those massive ass teams, putting these tents up.
Yeah, you should know that.
Oh, I know.
And a 40 by 40 is a no joke.
So it's bigger than some people's houses.
So we're removing the 10,000.
And the dishwasher.
Well, that's just two people's recommendation. I mean, I would certainly.
We already bought the dishwasher.
The dishwasher, and then
I would recommend taking the tent out. I know it's a revenue in
well, that's what
the mind, well, in their
If done
mind,
correctly, it can be.
it sounds like a great revenue generating source.
I like a good 10.
Not this kind.
but
What about,
you're giving it to a bride. You're not giving it to,
Oh, you can have.
you can have a family reunion, you can have a soccer camp.
Or a
But,
party.
but my point is, where you're really gearing is a bride.
Oh, yeah.
So when that bride expects that tent to go up, she's expecting
Mm-hmm.
Perfection.
perfection. If you don't string it right, a side sags.
Mhm.
If you don't store it right, it's mildew. I'm just, Lord, not that revenue. I'll set up a chair for you and charge you for it. Say,
Or table.
40 by 40
Right.
things.
I'd be interested to hear the revenue portion of it. I do think Brad, being experienced event planner, manager, I would like to see what his, he
I'm with hearing it.
he put it, he asked for it, so, you know, I don't want to discount his abilities and, you know.
It's not,
him-
well, it's not hampering him from generating a revenue, but that's one of those things that you just encourage the bride to rent from an outside company. They come in, they set up correctly. If it's mildew, it's on the rental company. I'm just,
I hear you, I hear you, I also would like to know from a revenue standpoint, how much we're talking about. We gotta identify revenue.
That's not the way.
That's
to do
not
it.
the way.
That's not the way to do it. How many events have you run?
I'm not.
neither is Fred.
Exactly. Nobody that works for this town should be putting up tents.
That's just my 2 cents. But if you want to hear from Fred, we can hear from him.
Let's hear from him. He's the one that asked for it, and if he's gonna be the director for it and asking for it, then I think we should have, you know.
They said the warming drawers for me would fall under the same thing because we have a warming kitchen at the manor. I get why he's asking for warming drawers when a caterer comes in.
But that's a caterer's responsibility, not ours.
No,
We don't cook anything.
No, when a caterer comes in and you say, we have a catering kitchen, you have means to keep things hot. That's part of a catering kitchen. It's like the big refrigerators on the back.
An ice maker.
Ice maker.
It's what you have.
That's what, and 3 compartment sinks so they can clean up.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm down for the warming drawers. It makes perfect sense. The tent is a,
What about a bar?
Yeah.
I think that's a, I think.
I think they're using somebody
they're
else's.
using borrowing somebody else's?
I think the bars are legit expensive as well.
Those are generators for you then.
Yes.
That's all.
Your warming drawer is not really. It's part of a warming kitchen. You're not in charge.
You can tack on a little bit extra, pay for them over the course of time. And they're not your regular generators, but they enhance
Right, but you would up your usage fee.
$50, $100.
Because a lot of rental agreements will have all the car options. You need a dance floor, yes, you need
Dishes,
this,
and linens.
right.
See, that's another, linens is a good revenue generator because you use the linen service. You're not washing and drying linens. We always use the linen service, national linen. Here's what we need for this event. You mark that up. That's a revenue generator. And you're not washing them and folding them. They deliver ready to go for you.
All right, so if I'm hearing correct, you want to see a presentation, you want to see what he wants to use the tents for, the dishwasher is going,
He has it.
yeah, he is. Yeah. All right, so we struck out the dishwasher,
The tent's a question
the
mark.
tents question
There are
mark.
bars in there.
The bar and the warming drawers, okay. All right,
I'll
cool.
do it with $2,500 on that line versus 20 grand. So I'd be all right with that.
You say you good, what, how much?
I'm looking for the bar and the drawers, that's 2,500.
Okay, I got you.
But if we do that, then we really don't need to bring him back, right?
Yeah.
You know, she wants it. She won't be here
What's the view about this?
before we get the email.
So we may add it back in.
Will you do
They
that
don't
with
know.
the
We
email?
may add it back.
Gotcha.
You do it.
Okay.
And then, can we? This roof. And if you'll understand where I'm going with this little roof thing just needs to go away. And we either need to fund the capital improvement, knowing we're gonna have a roof, and we're gonna have HVAC units go down. But none of these prices are right on it, that whole roofing thing needs to go away.
So we are bringing we do have 2 units. We do have 2 units right now that, Fred got quotes on, to replace. And I asked for all 8, do a quote for replacing all 8 as well, so 2 separate quotes. Just to give,
And we don't have any warranties on them or anything like that. You know, okay, and maintenance, and no maintenance.
they're the original units in that building.
Okay,
So we
so
have $100,000 in this year's budget.
And that's what I told him, just go ahead and,
Well, are they not functioning or are they inefficient? Like what, like, are they truly broken or are
I
they?
think we have 2
Got
that,
2.
that we are Band-Aids on. I mean, the HVAC folks are here energizing them for every event. I mean, it's just a constant. So,
Which really puts stress on
The other, one, I get it.
and that's what I
and
asked
the
for.
others, and they're all, hey, we're just at end of life.
Yeah, and if 2 are going,
Going for a commercial use of those that are in there. Now, if we're really looking at an enterprise fund, something like this there, what you may look like would be more of like a reserve for replacement, that those dollars stay and they roll, but they're restricted. And they,
We talked about restricted funds for a long time.
yeah, I mean,
and
that's,
you put, saying when we used to put
that way
$20,000.
you just don't have the whole expense at any given time.
$20,000
It's a
a
rolling-
year for a truck that we never bought. But if we had saved that $20,000 in a restricted fund, then when you needed a new truck, you'd have 80 in it.
Right,
I mean,
yeah, that's.
yeah, but
The
that's,
reserve for replacement's not a bad, and some people don't like to call it that, and some people like to call it a depreciation account. That's fine, you can call it a depreciation account, we do governmental accounting, we don't depreciate, so, but you can call it that. It serves the same purpose,
but it's a restricted.
but often folks who are in private business, they're familiar with a depreciation account. And
I don't like it because we're not profit,
right,
I don't appreciate, so I call it depreciation. Although, you know, all businessmen serving on council, it rings true to them.
was, now the roof. Sure, we inquired about insurance. Like, you know, with the hailstorms we had hail Saturday night, was it Saturday or something?
No, that's not it's not the replacement on the
Yeah,
roof.
that's why I say just. Let's figure it out to fund a restricted account for replacements of HVAC, roofing. Capital outlay interior, I wouldn't specify floor, but. Interior capital improvements,
Okay.
and that way you're saving a little bit each year to the restricted account to where. When it has to be done, you have the money.
Well, I'm thinking of, if we have roof issues, then go ahead and have it inspected by,
Well, I'm not aware of any roof issues, that's just parking money.
Yeah.
Just in case something
Right.
does happen, the only thing we have an issue with, well, we haven't looked at that house.
That house will be.
We haven't looked at that yet, but, over here, we just know the 2 units in the life.
but actually, I wouldn't even have it, there's no water damage, no active water damage.
Just a side note, have you done the final walkthrough on the pavilion?
No, not yet, and that's coming up.
After the meeting, I'll catch to you. There's one thing that is just glaring.
They did a pre-punch list, so there's items that are still on the punch list. They wanted to go ahead and get in front of it. Yeah,
I just don't want to forget about it because I thought when I pulled up over there first, because I forgot it was over here. There's one thing that corrected it, it would look so much better.
Anything goes on 15.
What'd you take 575 to? The last improvements, where'd you take that line?
We got the dishwasher out. We got a question mark by the 10th. or stays the same?
So we're putting $2,500.
The comment's 25,
Yeah.
and get the information, from it. You may choose to, it may be a deal, yeah.
That's it, for the last page of the summary.
It's a summary.
So, Mr. Mayor, what I would recommend is we get Julie to make these changes. You need to see this before it goes to the ordinance. So let's get everything updated and changed, get that out to everyone. And then I'll work on the language of the ordinance itself. Very similar to what you've done in the past, but I'll be making a couple of recommendations.
By
Can y'all give us,
the 16th,
can you give us 16?
that gives us a week. I'm doing that.
Have it distributed by the 16th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure.
CLB,
Now. Are you gonna have time to do? I don't have that list, because I didn't bring my other budget. Because you were gonna look at a couple things.
Plan.
Does that give you time to do what you need to do?
Oh, yeah, but the things that I'm reaching out to
Yeah.
take a look at, the financial. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I can get some stuff. And if not, I can give you what I have and tell you where I am on what I'm reaching out for. So, yeah,
It works for me then.
and, yeah.
consensus on
Because we meet on the 27th.
Correct.
I'm back in here. I'll be here on the 19th, 2021. I'll just send you, if I'm, what's the delay on that? We'll put the numbers together, send what we have with the numbers, and then I'll just send mine as an asterisk.
And I am flying back in the morning of the 27th. So barring a flight delay, which I hope there will be, I will be here at that meeting.
You know, you're gonna be tired.
All right, next item on the agenda, action item, discussing possible action to schedule additional future budget workshops, including setting scheduled dates and times. I don't think there's any appetite for a date right now, leading up, so we'll get that information to you by the 16th COB. If you see something on that, just quickly get with us so we can change it. What I'm gonna try to do with the budget is as soon as Julie gets it together and sends it to myself and Ed, we'll send it out to you all, look at it and let us know, if we miss something. We'll put your eyes on it as well, so we're not missing anything going to the 27th.
I've blocked out tomorrow to do the ordinance. So that's my plan, is to work on the language of the ordinance tomorrow.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I think we have one person from the.
I was just about to answer before we, yeah, so thank you for joining us, Mayor. You have any comments for us or questions?
So my name is Christina, first and foremost. I'm with Humana. I'm actually one of the community partner and sponsor for some of the town events. So we partnered and sponsored the Christmas parade this past December. We were one of the sponsors for the July 4th event.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, but one of the other things that caught my attention on page 10 was the improvements that you talked about, and at the top of the list was the Senior Activity Center. One of the things I wanted to share, and you may be aware, but I wanted to share, I always listen for understanding before I interject. So, we actually partner with, the Activity Center, I don't want to call it, the Community Center with Miss E.
Yeah.
And so we do senior events there. So we're actually partnering and supporting getting the senior, community coming back into the park. So bingo, just seminars that we sponsor. So myself and my partner and my coworker, Daphne Herndon, we actually do that with the community center. So just so you're aware of that. But then the other question that I had was, and I kind of figured this with the, decision to cancel the events. Was it mainly because of security? Because there needed to be heightened security that maybe just could not be with the events already being in place? Maybe you just could not turn that around quick enough to make sure that heightened security was a part of those upcoming events prior to them being canceled.
I'll let some account, because I think that it was two things. I
Okay.
think that the concern, I'll speak on it, but yes, you got, I think there was two concerns, security being number one. Sometime with security, there's unknown costs. You know, do you
Gotcha.
need 10, 15, 20? Especially for something like movies in the park, where you got really a small number. You know, how much force do you want with a small number of people? And then the 4th of July, I can tell you personally, and I'm sure members of this council can too. We remember when the event was still big, okay, where people still parked on the road last year. If you was out here last year, I think, our service that we pinged by cell phones, just to give us an estimate, was over 13,000 people in this
Yes.
park, okay?
And that's what-
And as that number continues to grow, of course, the cost to secure is gonna grow. So, and in the past, there definitive plans, you know, hey, the county handles that. With more people now, that of course puts a strain on them. Other resources, additional resources are needed. So we're in a territory we really haven't had to deal with as a town. And then the other part of the decision, from members of council, was really about the amount of events, incidents in town, that had happened over the past month or so. I'm just putting a pause on that and, kind of reassessing where we want to be as a town as far as liabilities.
I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. And I also thought about from a security aspect, let's say if you would have went the route of getting security and maybe enforcing or implementing a curfew, is that something security would have had to implement? Would that have been part of their responsibility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, gotcha. I wanted to make sure I understood that. But the other aspect that I thought about from a budget perspective, because you know, you're saying over 13,000 people are coming to specifically the July 4th event. What type of revenue is coming in? Like what revenue? I see that you're budgeting 25,000 in the cost, but what's the return on that
No
investment?
revenue.
Minimal at best.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's what I
I
remember.
can't vendor business license.
It was a free event.
It's a vendor, it's a
Okay.
free event, but my decision, my vote on pausing events was not monetary.
Okay,
I mean, we weren't
right.
shy of spending money on security, we just don't have a good plan, and you heard the mayor say he's gonna present to us permanent fencing cameras. Sure, added security guards and lighting, so if you had permanent fencing cameras and lighting in place, now we can control that 13,000 people that descended on Blackwood. But we have no controls, and so it wasn't a cost driver, it was more of a safety issue.
Right, and that's what I kind of thought, but I wanted to understand that just from you all's perspective, because just being a part of the public or from a sponsorship perspective, we don't know what all goes into making those
Making
decisions, right? So I just wanted to make sure, you know, that I had understanding, so that if I was asked,
Mhm.
you know, from a Humana perspective, because part of me having to tell them, hey, pause the sponsorship, I didn't go into any detail. I said, due to unforeseen circumstances, it was canceled. And I left it that way because I want to make sure we can maintain a good, you know, working relationship, partnership in that manner. And they're not hesitant because they're concerned about quote unquote bad media.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I just wanted to make sure I had a good understanding of that.
Well, help us spread that understanding, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. We did not do this because of cost.
Right, I completely understand, but I wanted to, because you all were talking about it, I don't know if you ever have considered, even thought about, that these could be events that could help to generate revenue. The other aspect I wanted to share is that I attend Journey United Methodist Church. So we rent out the, amphitheater for Mother's Day. So this coming weekend, our church will be out here. I've seen Forward City out here. So, I've worked Right, I've worked with Fred and he wanted to partner with doing some, events throughout the year that can help to generate, income and revenue for the town. So I'm really happy that I was allowed to sit in and just listen. So.
That was brutal for you to sit there.
Yeah.
No,
Legislation.
I don't mind, not at all.
Come back on the 27th for a longer meeting, a lot more substance in there with that.
No problem. Thank you all for allowing me to have input.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Looking for a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Good night. Thank you. Went to the.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do believe there are still plans for the meeting on the 19th. I don't know if she's heard about it. We're doing a community forum with, the sheriff's department, just to get, input on safety and security.
Okay, when is that? I'll write it down.
May 19th.
Be at 6 p.m. Just follow us on Facebook and get with Ms. Jordan. Here's